Good day, students. This is the first out of the two lecture discussions that will be done asynchronously. This is entitled as Water Pollution, and the second one is about solid waste, I think. Um, so please lend me your ears and listen or watch the video about this discussion. Um, Especially because you will learn the different types of water pollution, um, also how to reduce or somehow eliminate them, and then lastly, what are some current technologies that are being applied in different places um, to combat water pollution. Okay, so allow me to share my screen. And I hope you can see this. Let me just check. Yeah, okay. So this discussion is actually taken from HAIL 2020, Understanding Environmental Pollution. So there are two major types of water pollution. The first one is the point source pollution, and the second one is the non-point source pollution. So just from the word itself, or from the term itself, um, when you say point source pollution, you can just easily pinpoint, diba? Where this pollution is coming from. So it is any single identifiable source from which the pollutants are discharged. So like for example, you have a ship that has boarded onto a dock, and then this ship has to discharge its ballast water, and then this ballast water contains different biological pollutants such as bacteria. So, or for example, invasive species. So you can just easily point out where this source of discharge has come from, okay, from that ship. There are also other examples of point source pollution, so like pipes coming from factories, ditches coming from households, and uh, even the wastewater management ng mga facilities in the municipalities or cities. Second, we have the non-point source pollution. Um, the runoff sources are actually harder to precisely identify because it has actually come from different areas. So you can't really just say na, this pollution that is going on in this water body came from this source because this water body is actually receiving a lot of um, runoffs from different upland sources. So like for example, um, wait lang, I can't see it because some of the pointers are blocking my screen. So for example, runoff that carry oil, grease, or dirt or trash, or animal waste, microorganisms, chemical pollutants, pesticides, metals, and fertilizers coming from the upland region and then going to a water body, like for example, a basin or a lake or a watershed. Yan. So those are the two major types of water pollution. As you can see here in the diagram, like for example, in the point sources, you can easily identify the chemical discharges coming from the factories, di ba? Like, they have this specific na mga chemicals that they use in their manufacturing activities. And then also coming from the vessels, because vessels come from different areas. So they have different water composition that has to be discharged in the next area that they should go, diba? Um, while the non-point sources are, for example, the discharges or runoffs from roads, residential areas, the cities, or even in farms. So, kani sila nagtapok na siya, nag-combine na tanan, tapos na-discharge dito sa imong water body. Why can't it? Hindi siya nag-next. Yeah. Okay, so let us discuss what a watershed is. So when you say a watershed, it is actually just a fancy word for a basin that catches, diba, all of the water in a very big area in which the rain or the other precipitation drains into a particular water system. So when you say a watershed, it is bounded, it has a boundary of two or like pwede ding ano, parang around siya or surrounding siya na mountain ranges. And then from that mountain ranges, all of the water that goes down, trickle down into the water system. And then this water system, the streams, the rivers, and then if for example meron siyang lake, and then the bigger river system, then going to the bay, that is what you call as the watershed. So in the watershed, it is actually hard to pinpoint, di ba? Where the sources of water pollution come from. Okay, what if there are a lot of activities that are happening in that surrounding land. So these activities might have contributed or like have influenced to the extent of the pollution in the watershed. Okay, so here in the table, um, we are given with different um, types of non-point source pollution, and then how to reduce, treat, or absorb its runoff. Okay, when you say runoff, this is the rain that has trickled down and then passes through a certain land area which has an activity in that land area, like for example, agriculture. And then it passes through that agricultural land, carrying all the chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides from that agricultural land and then going to the river system. That is the runoff. Okay? So, iba yung wastewater, iba yung runoff. Yes. Okay. So like for example, we have agricultural activity like growing crops. So of course, in growing crops, we need to till our soil, di ba? When you say till our soil, binubungkal, and then apply fertilizers, pesticides, in order to, attain maximum production, di ba, of crops. Because of these activities, the water bodies near these agricultural areas are actually prone to pollution. So what can we do about it? So we can apply or construct buffer strips. So when you say buffer strips, yeah, wait lang, next muna na slide. Yeah. It is actually like a thin portion of land that you will not convert. You will just have to plant some grasses, ano pangalan yan? Grasses, and then trees, and then ano pa? Basta different types of plants. And then these plants line of plants that protects that water body in between the line of plants will serve as the parang filter of the runoff that will come from the agricultural area. So that's why it's called as a buffer strip. Just a strip of land that buffers the water um, from the agricultural area to the water body. Diba? In chemistry, when say buffer, diba? Mura ni siya og taga-neutralize. Mura nga na. Okay. Then also you can do no-till farming. But this is actually hard, especially the Philippine setting because our traditional farmers, ano, binubungka talaga, nagpo-plow, di ba? Ano ganit, they employ carabaos to plow the land, something like that. But one example of this is permaculture. So when you say permaculture, you just have to get some decomposing plant material there in the forest and all, and then put it on your land, and then like let it decompose in your land, and then do something to make the decomposition faster, and then you will plant the crops there in the decomposing na plant material, something like that. And then precision farming. So the precision farming actually involves some technology, such as like for example, you will need anong term nun? Nakalimutan ko na. Mura siya og ka ng kana bitawng technology nga mag-monitor sa water level of the soil, something like that. Nakalimutan ko. Yes. And then, if for example, low na ang water level sa soil, then automatically mo on ra siya para mo water sa imong plants. Yan. So, yeah. And then, integrated pesticide management. So, when you say integrated pesticide management, you will not put any pesticides if it's not really that necessary, or if the pests are not really that, pangalan yan, causing much of a destruction in your field. So, yes, meron kang parang fina-follow na guidelines when you will just put pesticide in your agricultural land. And then also grow crops year-round so roots prevent soil from washing away. Better pa nga dito is parang yung different crops in different seasons. So, like for example, in this season, you will plant rice, and then afterwards, you will plant munggo. Because, di ba, pangalan yan, munggo plants can harbor nitrogen-fixing bacteria, so they can somehow reinvigorate the nitrogen composition in your soil, something like that. Okay, that's just some example. And then how about if you have animal operating livestock farms? So, lahi na po ng mga parameters involved or affected. So like for example, your water body is prone to pathogen contamination, nutrient pollution, BOD, increase in BOD utilization, which pangalan yan, will in which magka-cascade effect siya into, harmful algal bloom, eutrophication, and then fish kill. Yeah. And then lastly, suspended solids. from the feces, di ba? Um, from these livestock farms. You can also do barriers to prevent the leakages of pangalan yan, wastes coming from your livestock farm. Then you can also treat the feces or urine through what? So like for example, we can do constructed wetlands. So ano yung constructed wetlands? Yan. So you will intentionally make somehow a little bit of pond or wetland or like river, constructed river, and then you will plant different types of grasses, shrubs, but these grasses are dapat specifically picked because these grasses have the capacity to pangalan yan, to transform the nutrients and contaminants coming from the wastes that you have discharged from your livestock farm. So like for example, there are emergent plants, this one, emergent plants. When you say emergent plants, di ba, and sa ano, pangalan yan sa ecology, emergent species, those are the, pangalan yan, mga species of plants na nauuna sila, di ba, na nag-a-arise before pa nga mahimong ano, unsay pangalan na, ready ang imong soil for the next phase, di ba, of the ecosystem, something like that. Yes. So, pangalan yan, like for example, alfalfa, yung cattail, if you're familiar with cattail, yung nagfo-float, nakalimutan ko na kung ano pangalan yung nagfo-float. Ayun, meron mga example. Um, Ayan, lemna or nymphaya. Ang nymphaya kay mga water lilies man ni siya. And then kaning lemna, usually daghan ni siya sa Lake Danau. And then you also have submerged plants. You will plant these submerged plants. And then pangalan yan, dito nimo i-discharge ang imong mga wastes, which is urine and feces. And then these plants have the capacity to transform the excess nutrients such as nitrogen, di ba, from urea, from your pangalan yun, from your waste. And then so that when it comes out from that constructed wetland, kasi yung constructed wetland, meron siyang inlet and outlet. Tapos kapag pumunta na siya sa outlet, generally cleaner na siya na type of water. Yes. Yan. Okay. So this is the inlet here in the agricultural area and then outlet here. Tapos mo gawas na siya dito. Okay. Next, how about if we have timber cutting operations? Diba? This quite normal, especially in the western regions where they have to pangalan yan, separate some lands to just plant pine trees for Christmas, something like that. As they have to cut it na pod, diba? And then replant again, then cut again. So, just like what I have discussed kanina, buffer strips, constructed wetlands can also treat or reduce the amount of pollutants coming from the runoff of this operation. And then next, we have construction sites. In construction sites, if you have observed, they will actually make settlement ponds like this. Ito siya, yan. This one in the red. Sorry, I haven't activated my pointer. So, wait lang. Yan. This one, this is a settlement pond. And then what you will do here is that um, there are different layers in that settlement pond, and then different layers also act differently because they have different na mga ano, pangalan yan. Parang yung term is active na ano, mga components there. Like for example, the gravel, and then the next na ay mga pangalan yan, active enzymes, bacteria, and the next is merong skimmer, yan, ganyan. So from here in the inflow channel coming from the construction site, let's say you will construct a mall, yan. Merong mall dito sa likod. And then all of the discharges, water discharges here will enter the primary inflow channel, going to the Bay 1, first layer, then to the Bay 2, then Bay 3, and lastly to the outflow, in which, um, theoretically, dito sa last, di ba, na layer, generally cleaner na yung water mo. And then, what's this? What's the other one? Ay, sorry. And then in cities and suburbs, wait lang. Ayan. In cities and suburbs where, pangalan niyan, where road runoff is actually inevitable, di ba? So, meron siyang tendency to release some heavy metals, PAHs, salt, sand, eroded soil, oil, yes, oil, and grease. You can also incorporate buffer strips, permeable paving. So when you say permeable paving, yung ginagamit mo na semento is dapat kayang um, mag-infiltrate ang water to the soil. Kayang mag-percolate, yes. Kayang mag-percolate ng water to the soil. Hindi siya yung, pangalan niya, hindi talaga nakaka-absorb ng water. Then, resculpt streets to direct storm runoff into vegetated road median, and then infiltrators placed under parking lots and direct runoff to wetlands. So if you can observe in some of the movies in Western regions, their roads have, pangalan yan, parang wetlands beside them, by these wetlands are constructed there for that purpose of reducing the pangalan yan, the water pollution that may come to their natural river system. Yes. Okay. That's it. How about in mining operations? You can also, of course, in mining operations, very prone talaga yung mga, 'di ba, lowland, ang mga, or, pangalan yan, yung downstream na mga, river systems. Because, kapag bumabaha, 'di ba, so, nagte-trickle or nagkaka-run off ng mga heavy metals such as iron, yung mga ores, yung metal ores kasi kay they have to be refined. So, pero usually kay naamo po na saan factory na i-refine. Pero yes, mga metal ores, maano na siya. And then, what you can do is, plant vegetation on sites to retain soil and pollutants, or seal mine as permanent solution. And then for strip mines, when you say strip mines, these are the surface na mga mines, yung guba gayod as in strip gani. kubaan ka ng mga plants in the forest, ganyan na. Dili to para sa katong pangalan yan, yung tunnel lang. So you have to restore the damaged land and depolluted water. So unfortunately, here in Eastern Visayas, strip mining is still present or rampant, diba? Like for example, in Humonhon, where people there are fighting to stop the spread kay parang nag-infiltrate na yung yung mining company sa next nga barangay, something like that. Okay. So next, what are the pollutants in that are monitored? Um, and then, if for example, high ni siyang mga pollutants, makaingon naman tanga na ay water pollution. So just like in air pollution, di ba? Like that we have the pangalan yan, the hi, makalimot. We have yung category, oo, nakalimot na. Yes, category air pollutants, di ba? Ano ba to? Standard air pollutants. Hala, nakalimot na ko asan. Yes, muna to. Criteria! Sorry, everyone. Criteria air pollutants. Naapod tayo mga conventional water pollutants. Okay. So, murag mauni sila ag same nga level. Criteria air pollutants in air pollution, then sa water pollution, these are the conventional water pollutants. So these are the major category of pollutants under the US Clean Water Act. So as you can see, most of our kanang materials here kay gikan dyan sa US kay 'di ba ang pangalan niyan ang US EPA man 'di ba. Oh, yes, ang nag-una sa kanang pag-set sa mga standards when it comes to pollution. So when present in large amounts, it can have serious and devastating effects not only to the health of humans but also to the health of other organisms living in that water body. So like for example, we have biochemical oxygen demand or BOD, then nutrients such as nitrates and phosphates, and then suspended solids. This could be TDS or TSS, where usually it is in TSS or total suspended solids, pH, oil and grease, and then pathogenic microorganisms. Okay, so what is biochemical oxygen demand or BOD? Diba? We are just familiar with DO or dissolved oxygen. Then what is BOD? When you say BOD, it is actually the amount of oxygen that is needed by the microorganism to decompose an available organic material there in the environment. So basically, more ni siya og nagkanang level of oxygen nga needed or kanang na lang nga kanang para maka-respire ang mga ang imong mga microorganisms, mga decomposers nimo. Tapos, remember decomposers are pangalan niya. They are a lot in the environment. Ganyan. Or like the microorganisms in general. So they need a lot of oxygen. Yes. So, asa man po sila magkuha ani ng mga organic material? So, kani nga mga organic material may come from plant debris and then animal feces or the nutrients like for example dissolved nutrients na coming from the soil there in the upland region blah blah and then coming there to the water. So if high ang imong BOD, meaning ang katong imong gi-transform ng oxygen gigamit ingana para mo respire nimong microorganisms. It means nga na-deplete ang imong dissolved oxygen or DO, causing a hypoxic environment. So when you say hypoxic, so low oxygen environment. So what happens if there is low oxygen? Diba? So, ang imong mga sedentary organisms that cannot move to other place, kay, yes, they are bounded to one rock and all. So, mamatay sila, such as the crabs and snails. While ang imong mga it could be pod nga ang imong mga non-sedentary or motile organisms, they can still be affected, especially if very low na ang imong dissolved oxygen. So, causing fish kill, diba? So if there is high BOD in your water, it indicates human activity like municipal wastewater plant emission. So meaning, dili efficient ang imong wastewater plant. Nagbutang-butang na kag wastewater plant pero di ay siya mugana. Or naay if dito ka sa mga manufacturing nga mga areas, ang food processing operation is very high. Your chemical plants may have discharge, di ba? High organic matter, yan. And then pulp and paper operation, tanneries, and slaughterhouse. Yes. Second is the nutrient. So actually, diba, going back to our chemical toxicity na discussion, if your nutrient level is just adequate or even low, your water body will not be affected. But if it gets too high, that's when the problem arises. So where does the excess nutrient usually come from? So it's from fertilizers that have reactive nitrogen and phosphorus, di ba? When you say reactive, meaning dili na siya in its nakalimot ko sa term. Basta murag stable something form. Yes. So like for example, yung nitrates, nitrites, di ba? Usually if you have high nitrite content in your water body, it means that there is pangalan niya, very recent fertilizer application in the adjacent agricultural plot near your water body where you have collected that water sample. Kaya di ba, yung nitrite is the short form ko. Kanang murag, before mo nitrate, na nitrite ba ya? So, short form. Basta mo na to siya. And then, phosphorus. Usually, ang phosphorus or phosphates, di ba, coming from your, laundry, naapod sa fertilizers, and PK. Oo. So, di ba, ang fertilizer kay nitrogen, phosphorus, and then potassium, yes. NPK, 14, 14, 14. And then, pangalan niya, which could lead to eutrophication. So when you say eutrophication, di ba, high nutrient level in the water, and then leads to a cascade effect, which is algal bloom, whether it's harmful or not, as long as it's algal bloom, it's still algal bloom. And then when there is an algal bloom, less oxygen, hypoxic, and then magkakaroon ka ng dead zones. Dead zones where anoxic na talaga siya. Wala ng oxygen. Fish kill happens. Okay. What does it say? Nitrate and phosphorus are two nutrients found in commercial fertilizer. Yes. Okay, so what happens kuno? If, for example, you have incorporated nitrates and phosphorus there in your land, and then boom, your plant has grown. And then what happens if the vegetation dies? So if the vegetation dies, there will be enough, diba, organic matter that will be used by the microorganisms. in which magre-respire sila and then mag-high na naman yung BOD. So, kung high mong BOD, so it stimulates, the nutrients stimulate the phytoplankton growth in the water. Ano man i-discuss nun. And then, naana po kay algal bloom. And then, the zooplankton, kay tungod kay daghan kag phytoplankton. So, they eat those phytoplankton. So, madaghan pa rin ang zooplankton. Daghan ang phyto, daghan ang zoo. So, tapos after that, kung mahurot na to siya, they will die afterwards. And then those dying phytoplankton, zooplankton will go sink to the bottom of the waters. And then after that, the bacteria decomposers at the bottom of your water will digest those dead na mga zoo and phytoplankton. And then they will use up the dissolved oxygen in your water. If they use it up, high ang imong BOD. So high ang imong BOD, oxygen is depleted, a dead zone happens. So usually there sa bottom. So your bottom dwellers, sedentary bottom dwellers are much affected in this scenario. Okay, next is pH. So when pH is too low, water cannot optimally support life. Diba? Especially kapag ma-experience talaga yung effect sa mga shell forming microorganisms. Kasi if there is low pH, then they cannot utilize the calcium carbonate in the water kasi it will transform into carbonic acid. So, dili nila magamit. So, ang imong shell is magiging weaker. So, magiging prone sila or less ang ilang chances for survival. Yes. Next, mining operations are also another source of acids. So, when there is acid, lower yung pH. So, metal ores and coal deposits contain metal sulfides that turn into sulfuric acid. So, from the word itself, acid. Sulfuric acid when moisture is present, which runs off into nearby water. So, if iron is one of the metals present in your metal ore, so what will happen is that it will turn the water body into orange. Okay, I will just play a little bit of a short video for you to watch and see how it can, iron-filled water runoff can really affect not only the river system, but also the activities of the people there. Okay. So, wait lang. I'll just stop sharing. And then, it's still figuring it out. Not yet. Wait lang. This. Share. And then share down. Yan.
Oh my God! To lower this insane electricity bill, Yes, this is it.
The Mapagba River in Banay-Banay, Davao Oriental turned orange after it was filled with sediments coming from the mining company operating in the area. The coastal area where the river flows was also affected. Residents in the area are worried that this may cause harm to them and to the environment. They have been using the river for bathing and laundry as the water supply in the area is still a problem.
Okay ka ng mga tao dire kaya ang labanan.
Kawawa ang mga tao dito. Di rin makapaglaba yung mga tao. Kulang na nga ang supply ng tubig ng barangay. Wala rin naman tayong magagawa. Nasa baba lang tayo. Yung mga nasa itaas ang nagdedesisyon.
And since the sediments have reached the coastal area, many fishermen were also affected. They are worried that fishes and seashells might die due to the siltation.
Maglisod kami sa panagat, ma'am, sa mong panginamoy diri.
Hirap kaming mangisda. Apektado kita namin dahil dito sa mining. Ako titigil na lang sa pangingisda. Maghahanap na lang ako ng ibang trabaho. Okay yung pangingisda namin dati nung wala pang mining. Ngayon, wala na. Di na rin naman daw mapapatigil.
But according to Art Nickel Resources Incorporated, there is nothing to worry as the incident is not hazardous. Nevertheless, they are still investigating the incident and are conducting cleanup drives along the river.
So, hindi naman siya ganun talaga ka-hazardous kasi it's just a matter of talagang nag-discolor lang siya. And,
Ganong alarming, parang ganun.
yes, hindi naman siya ganun ka-alarming at hindi naman siya ganun ka-dangerous sa tao po. Yung company is nag-conduct talaga ng clean up into the affected community. Yes, and actually kahapon is nagkaroon nga din ng community service to them in which nagbigay kami ng ayuda.
DENR in Davao also said that they have already formed an investigating team composed of personnel from Mines and Geoscience Bureau, Environment Management Bureau, and CENRO. For News 5, Jem Avancenia, we are One News.
That's it.
Department of Nearest
Let's go back to our presentation.
Nearest Relatives Employee. Department of Employees Nearest Relatives.
Share screen.
Natural Resources.
Wait. Yeah. Okay. After the pH is suspended solids. So, as what you can see here in the picture, this is actually pangalan yan. TDS. Okay. SS. Ano na pala to? Suspended solids na to. Yan. This is what we call as the total suspended solids. So when you say suspended solids, diba, these are the particles that are suspended into the water. And then if you filter that water sample out by using, a Wattman paper, and then, hello, and then, pangalan yan, it becomes turbid or cloudy or black or brown, then something like that. So meaning you have a lot of suspended solids in your water. So what happens if there are a lot of suspended solids? So it limits the absorption of sunlight, diba? So affecting the phytoplankton, the submerged plants, their photosynthetic activity, and then stunting their growth or limiting their reproduction, something like that. Also, suspended solids can clog the gills of the fishes, which disrupts their normal, you know, respiratory activities, something like that. And then, usually, in which land areas, saan yung high ang suspended solids? In agricultural fields that practices till farming, diba? Or tilling or plowing. Yes. Ano pa ba? Of course, in mining activities, diba? Especially strip mining and construction activities. Okay. Next. Yan. Oil and grease. This is one of the pollutants that are parang somehow unique in the US EPA na guidelines. Kasi in the Philippine na Clean Water Act sa pangalan niya, yung daw 2016-8. Parang wala akong nabasang oil and grease. But yes, we will still discuss this. Oil pose a major problem as it kills and adversely affects fish, birds, mammals in the coastal waters. So it can also kill or injure organisms living in the sand and rocks. And then lastly, it can spread to coastal marshes, killing the fish, shrimp, and birds there. So, you will see the extent of the effect of oil pollution, especially if there is an oil spill. And what a better way to, explain this is to have a video of the recent oil spill that has happened in the Philippines, diba? I think that's last year, this one. So let's have another video. Wait, what happened? Share screen. And then share sound. Okay.
Keep trying. Get stronger. Cheese Whiz.
Birch Tree Advance. Mayroon itong protein at calcium tulong sa matibay na muscle at buto para sa kompleto at balansing nutrisyon.
So una, parang ordinaryong ibon lang ang nanginain dito. Pero parang nahihirapan siyang lumipad. Pilit niyang tinatanggal ang dumi sa kanyang katawan.
Grabe yung laki ng epekto. Ang dami makapangisda.
Oh my God! What happened here? Buhay pa kaya to? Kawawa naman yung kingfisher. Kitang-kita mo na hirap siyang lumipad. May mga itim-itim pa siya sa balahibo niya. Ito yung dahilan kung bakit hindi na siya naka-survive. May babalik pa kaya sa dati ang kanilang tirahan? Matapos ang oil spill sa karagatan na sakop ng nauhan noong ika-28 ng Pebrero, ang dating tahimik na bayan ng Pola sa Oriental Mindoro. Nabulabog ng mabigat na pagsubok. Sa pagputok ng araw, nakabang na ang white-collared kingfisher sa kanyang magiging almusal. Hinahanap niya ang perfect target. Isa na roon ang mga talangka na abala sa paghuhukay ng kanilang lungga. Nang biglang matagumpay siyang nakahuli ng pagkain. Kung tutuusin, isa itong normal na eksena. Pero pansinin ang kulay ng white-collared kingfisher na ito. Napakagandang ibon nito, no? Coloration is parang indigo blue, metallic blue yung color niya. Tapos yung leeg niya, may color siyang puti, tapos yung dibdib niya puting-puti. Pag malinis siya, ang gandang ibon. Pero dark brown to black na ang kulay niya. Mabigat ito para sa ibon. Dagdag timbang ito para sa kanya. Para siyang umakyat ng bundok na may hinihilang gulong ng truck. Ang pwede mangyari sa kanya sa susunod na araw ay yung oil spill niya sa katawan is pagdidikit-dikitin niya yung kanyang mga balahibo. This would be able to disable yung kanyang flying ability. Unti-unti itong manghihina at mga susunod na araw baka makita na lang siya sa buhanginan na wala ng buhay. Nabalitaan natin na may nag-sink na oil tanker dito sa bandang Nauhan, Mindoro Oriental. Kumalat yung kanyang mga crude oil sa iba't ibang parte mula Oriental Mindoro. Kumalat na ito hanggang sa karagatan, sakop ng Palawan at Antique. Tapos yung pinaka-badly hit is itong municipality ng Pola. Ang sama doon is marami pa namang mga marine protected area dito at may magagandang beaches dito sa lugar na ito. Ramdam ang epekto ng oil spill maging ng mga hayop. Itong red-tailed tropic bird naman ay hindi pinala dahil napadpad sa shore itong ibon na ito na wala ng buhay at nakita nila Kuya Nomeng na lifeless. Mga ilang araw na po ito simula nung nakita ito, natagpo ang patay.
1 linggo na po ang mula nung nakita yan.
Patay na po siya.
Patay na po.
Bihira itong ibon na ito, bagwis na lang ang natira sa kanya. Grabe, yung pagkapit ng tar, may mga itim-itim pa siya sa balahibo niya. Ito yung dahilan kung bakit hindi na siya naka-survive, sa bigat ng oil na kumapit sa katawan niya. At siguro, tinatry niyang i-groom yung sarili niya. Pero yun yung naging toxic sa kanya.
Join the Tang Scans Win promo. Buy specially marked Tang Toy Story Packs. Find the code inside.
Industrial oil na ginagamit bilang lubricant sa mga makinarya ang kumalat na langis sa karagatan ng Oriental Mindoro.
If it's not managed properly, we're looking at years of recovery and rehabilitation. With proper management, probably it will require 3 to 5 years, but without proper containment, it can last longer than that. So we're looking at decades for complete rehabilitation.
Pero maswerte pa rin na hindi lahat ng lugar dito namansahan ng oil spill. Ito yung tinatawag na mini Boracay dito sa Pola, mabuti na lang naglagay sila ng pangharang, para maiwasan yung pagpasok ng oil spill. Pero pinagbabawalan maligo ang sinuman dito sa dagat dahil nga sa tagas ng langis. Ang ganda. Look at this, Grabe. Meron pa rin frustration yung mga locals doon dahil hindi sila makapangisda, hindi sila makatrabaho, hindi sila makabenta, hindi sila makatikim ng laman dagat.
Magiging matatag na lang po sa anumang mga pagsubok na dumarating sa akin.
Pero in spite of that frustrations, makita mo na mga Pilipino nga naman ay likas sa kanila ang bayanihan dahil nagtutulong-tulong sila na, na mabuhay. Handa din ang Born to be Wild na tumulong, magbigay ng relief goods. So, hindi lang pang tao yung aming dinala, kundi nagdala din kami ng relief goods para sa mga alaga nilang mga hayop tulad ng aso. Nagdala kami ng dog food. Si Sir ay badnay dagat.
Salamat po.
Bukod sa namigay kami ng relief goods, tumulong din kami sa coastal cleanup kasama ang mga Philippine Coast Guard, Philippine Army at mangingisda. Ayon sa mga eksperto, pwedeng abutin ng 6 na buwan hanggang sa 1 taon ang paglilinis dito. Nasa mahigit 3 milyong daang piso ang kailangang bayaran ng may-ari ng MT Princess Empress. Pero sapat kaya ito sa mga naapektuhang tao, hayop at karagatan? Pero malaki pa rin ang pag-asang maibalik ang dating ganda ng natural nilang tirahan dahil sa pagsisikap at pagkakaisa ng bawat komunidad.
Okay, that's it. Let's go back.
Ilan days yung doon yun, no? Ilan days yung doon? 32. Third class official, 32. Third. Ha? So, pinaman, plus 2, 34, 25. Ang basic means, basic salary.
Okay, just a little bit of fun fact. The biggest oil spill that has happened in history is actually intentional. Like it was not because of an accident. The ship shrank and all. The Iraqi people there, they intentionally released 882,000 tons of oil into the Persian Gulf in order to stop the US troops from docking into their place or yeah. It's because of a war. Yeah. So how do we clean up oil spill? There are some technologies that are being used. Like for example, booms, skimmers, and then chemical dispersants, and lastly, gelling agents. Usually the booms, they're like barricades, so that the oil cannot spread out. Okay, of course, it's oil. It's non-polar, so it will just stay there at the surface, diba? So, yes, they will contain the oil or prevent the oil from coming into this other side where there is no oil yet, where you can put the skimmer after in the boom, where the skimmer acts like mura bitaw mop, yan, like a mop, and then attracts all the oil into its body. And then, if medyo widespread na talaga siya, so some companies employ or like hire an airplane to spread out from chemical dispersants. So what these dispersants do is that when it comes in contact with the, oil tend to, stick to each other. So it disperses ko, no? This oil para kapag hindi na sila masyadong together, so nagaano na sila, pangalan yan. Nagsispread out and then easier siya na ma-decompose or ma-biodegrade ng mga microorganisms. And then, pangalan yan, mas makaka-penetrate na ang sunlight sa imong water body. So, and lastly, gelling agent. So, baliktad. So, kung kanina nag-disperse, ito siya, mas pinupondo niya yung oil para easier na lang siya to scoop out. This is gelling agent. Okay, number 6, pathogenic microorganisms. So, di ba we have conducted this in our lab? One of the pathogenic microorganisms, guys, those that are associated with the coliform bacteria. Some ganing ng coliform bacteria are even pathogenic, like such as E. coli, di ba? So, most microorganisms do not actually cause diseases, di ba? In microbiology, 95% of microorganisms are actually safe. Only 5% can cause diseases. But even if there are only 5% of them, but there are millions, I don't know, billions pa gani, of pangalan yan, microorganisms na different species. Yeah. So, sa 5% pa nadagahan na hapon. And they can cause detrimental effects. Not only to the human society, but also to, like, for example, livestock health. Yes. So that's why they still need to be monitored. So pathogens could be bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoans, or toxic algal species. So these are different groups of pathogens. So yes, in biology na these are already discussed. So, infectious microbes or the toxins produced by these microbes can, pangalan yan, can cause health hazards. Yes. So, like for example, if you harvest shellfish that has eaten, pangalan yan, saxitoxin. O ba to? Oo. Saxitoxin produced by the toxic algal species such as Alexandrium. Oo, mga algae ni sila. Kagmay, microscopic algae. Di kaon sa sa shellfish. Tas kato siya nga mga algae kay na ay toxins. And then, dili man to dali nga ma-splash out sa body sa shellfish. Mo stay to siya sa body sa shellfish. Tas ilimpan ontong shellfish nga naaani nga toxin. So, mo nang magkasakit ka, magkalibanga, suka-suka, and even paralysis. That's why it's called paralytic shellfish poisoning. Yes. So, this is rampant in Samar region, like in Maqueda Bay, San Pedro Bay. San Pedro is there in pangalan yan? Eastern Samar. Kapag nag-i-issue yung BFAR na no pangalan, shellfish harvest for this season or for this period of months, dapat wala talaga kasi nakakapatay ang paralytic shellfish poisoning. So, yes. So, here, diba, sa picture, pangalan yan. It is actually the BFAR that issues no harvest season during toxic red tides. Kapag may sinasabi ng red tide doon sa bawal talagang kumuha ng mga shellfish. But still, you can eat Fish, squids, shrimps, and crabs, they are still safe, but not the shellfish. Um, ano pa ba? So what are the sources of pangalan yan? Toxic algal blooms. So how do algal species or certain algal species proliferate? Diba? Of course, they need nutrients. So where do they get these nutrients? So from the upland na regions, mga runoff. So, for example, sa imong mga pangalan yan, agricultural na mga plots, and then human activities, mga wastes, sa imong residential area, livestock, mo padung dito. So, if there is daghan ng nutrients, and then naapay oxygen, dissolved oxygen, so mudaghan mga sa ipangalan. Yes. Mga algae. Tapos, with enough sunlight pa, okay, they need man, phytoplankton. Wait lang, ang Alexandrium, phytoplankton? Oh, marag phytoplankton ng Alexandrium. And then, point sources like poorly performing municipal sewage treatment plants. Pero wala man taan we. Okay. So if the pangalan yan, the US EPA system has their set of conventional water pollutants. We also have our own set. And they are actually pangalan yan, grouped in different categories. And the water bodies are also classified in different categories. Then, let's say we have freshwater ecosystems. So these ecosystems are classified as Class AA, Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, depending on their physical chemical parameter levels, usage, and then recreational activities that can be done there. Yes. So usually Class AA and Class A waters for potable drinking water. The only difference is that in Class AA waters, like very small lang na pag clean ng waters, you can drink it na. While Class A needs conventional na treatment of water. Like for example, in Lake Danao in Ormoc. Next, Class B, these are recreational waters. You can bath, swim there, fish there. Yes. And then Class C, aside from recreation, you can incorporate mariculture say pangalan na culturing of fishes there. Di naman kay marine man ang mariculture. So yes. And then for fishing, and then lastly, Class D, navigable waters. And then in marine waters, iba din yung classification. We have Class SA, Class SB, Class SC. Yes. Just read it na lang. And then from these different kinds of water bodies, then different levels of primary parameters yung tawag in the Philippines, hindi yung conventional, diba, water pollutants. So, ano yung primary parameters that are monitored in our water bodies? So, BOD, chloride, color, where is my pointer? Yeah. Color, diba? Hindi lang pala, total suspended solids, but also the color. Then, dissolved oxygen, di ba? Yung sa sa EPA, BOD lang. And then, fecal coliform, There in EPA, pathogenic in general. But here in our guidelines, fecal coliform. Ginawa natin sa lab, diba? And then nitrates. So, diba, sa conventional na dun sa EPA, they just put nutrients. Pero dito, nitrates. And then lahi pa ang phosphates. And then pH, temperature, and then total suspended solids. So as you can see, differing or in a gradient yung levels of different physical chemical parameters depending on the type of water body that you are classifying. Okay. Aside from the primary parameters in the Philippines or the conventional water pollutants, diba? There are also another group of pollutants. In the US, they are called as priority toxic pollutants. So, mura po din siya og mga HAPs, diba? Certain HAPs, hazardous air pollutants. Murag mo na to sila. Mga HAPs. Kani ba sila mga priority toxic or toxic pollutants? Usually pollutants can be found in more than one environmental medium, meaning they could have come from the air and then dissolved into the water and then wreak havoc into that water system, something like that. And then in the US EPA, there are 126 pollutants. Most of them are heavy metals, cadmium, lead, mercury, nickel, copper, zinc, benzene, and organic pod, benzene, toluene, and many pesticides. Can come from point sources or non-point sources, diba? Unlike the hubs na point sources kasi, diba, they are monitored in different sectors, like for example, in a manufacturing plant, something like that. Pero these priority toxic pollutants, pwede both point or non-point sources. Organochlorine pesticides are example of priority pollutants that have been banned years ago. So what are the examples of this? The DDT, dieldrine, and chlordane. So if you can still remember our discussion in our lecture in Principles of Ecology, yung DDT where they killed, di ba? Most of the cats because it has killed the mosquitoes and all. Yeah, nagkaroon ng cascade effect. So what the Bornean government did is they parachuted cats and all. Yes, kalimot ako. Basta mo to say. Okay. So this diagram actually demonstrates how priority toxic pollutants can go from one medium to another. So like for example, you have this factory that releases those pollutants in the air. And then what happens is that these pollutants have been incorporated into your clouds and all, and then precipitated, yes. After a rainfall or a snowfall, yes. So it has been deposited into the land and then eventually into the water. Yes, that's it. Then, nandun na siya sa water. Na pollutant. So, in the Philippines, in the Dow 2016-8, so, pangalan yan, when you go to your environmental planning na pangalan yan, na course, you will still encounter this Dow 2016-8. So yeah, there are secondary parameters. Mauni sila ang mga equivalent adto nga mga pangalan priority toxic pollutants. Yes. Priority ba to yung term? Oh, yes. So what are some examples? They are divided into three man gani siguro. May inorganics, may mga metals, and then napay organics. So many of them. And then we also have non-conventional and non-toxic pollutants. So meaning, kung when you say non-conventional, if daghan sila, di ba, ang conventional makakos og disruption and all. So, kung daghan ni sila, medyo okay raman, pero murag makaano siya o kanang murag sign ni si Jang agatong uban nga mga conventional o toxic pollutants kay present there. So like for example, temperature, heat, um, sa mga power plant, ganon. So, inaano nila yon, pangalan yan, minomonitor talaga nila yung temperature, heat, kay it can also affect the living organisms in that water body. Color, di ba? So, in mining operations, pangalan yan, like for example, textile na mga factories. So, apil ni siya sa i-monitor sa daw kung maun siya nga sektor. Okay. Bisan pa og dili na siya pangalan niyan, apil didto sa mga primary, secondary pollutant parameters. Pero pangalan niyan maka-cause naman po ni siya og somehow kanang kung naani siya maka-disrupt na sa natural na kanang activities of that ecosystem. So mo nang i-appeal po ni siya. So kaning mga non-conventional and non-toxic pollutants is just specific to different kinds of sectors. So like for example mo to, power plants, i-appeal dyan ng heat, agkatong textile factories, i-appeal ang color. Ano pa? Yes. So in the Philippines, effluents from different industries are also monitored. It is still there in the DAO 2016-8. And then different na mga parameters are listed there. Like for example, in sectors like agriculture, forestry, and fishing, different tong mga parameters ang dapat ma-monitor. Mining and quarrying, lahi pod. Manufacturing, lahi pod nga set. Electricity, gas steam, lahi pod. So on and so forth. Even human health and social works, diba kay? Nagde-discharge man ng mga pangalan niya, medical waste, nga na, and then medical wastewater, something like that. Lahi po na siya. Bisan gani og mga laundry shops and funerals na apo na sila ginamonitor po na ang ilang mga discharge. Ayan. Mao ni siya. So like for example, in mining and quarrying or mining of coal and lignite, mao ni ang dapat i-monitor color, pH, total TSS, nitrate, sulfate, so on and so forth. Okay, so we have already discussed what could happen to surface water. But how about the groundwater? Diba? So it is said in the book that I have, got your lesson from. So more than 1/4, so that's 25% of the world's population depend on groundwater for drinking. For drinking pala, diba? And mind you, when this body of groundwater is contaminated, it's so much harder to manage and clean than those in its surface counterparts. In the Philippines, groundwater is also maintained and monitored according to its beneficial use, still incorporated in the DAO 2016-8. So, iba-iba din yung classification ng groundwater. So, yes, class A, B, and C. And different mga parameters are looked upon in these different classifications. Actually, your groundwater has different parts. So, your water table is here. Usually, this is where your pangalan yan, your soil. And then, your pangalan yan, shallow na water table na part where you usually dig to make the well and like that. So that's the aquifer. And then after that, naapagay sa ubos, mauna na siya ang groundwater. Okay. So what are some examples of rampant, or what do we call that? Answer itong blatant. Blatant water pollution. So, and then what has our government did, diba, to solve this problem? So, like for example, in Boracay, diba, President Duterte has tagged this as Boracay daw is like a cesspool, something like that, diba? That's why we have to close it up from everyone else for 6 months to treat its sewage problems, because the hotels, resorts, and infrastructures there, actually hindi maganda yung paggawa nila ng meron pang ang ibang walang ECC. Yes. So some of the pipes are just directly put there into the beach without any treatments and all. So the motto pag visit ni President Duterte, motto niya siya, yes, close the Boracay for 6 months. Imagine, this is the most famous island destination in the Philippines and nag-close for 6 months. Yeah. Because of water pollution. Yeah. As you can see in the picture, these are some pipes. See? Yung pipes nakaano lang talaga, di ba? Directly sa beach. Yan. Tapos, according pa dun sa report, mabaho daw ang there are some parts of Boracay na mabaho. Yes. And then another form of blatant pollution is plastic pollution, di ba? So, grabe ka, rampant and medyo disturbing ang plastic pollution because no beach is exempted in this. Meaning, wala na talaga tayong matatawag na pangalan yan, virgin beach and all, because plastics are transboundary, di ba, na mga pollutants. Meaning, they can go from one place to another, just, drifting into the water and then, ending up into different beaches. So even in isolated beaches, you can see trash, plastics, non-biodegradable trash accumulated there. That's why we can now say that no pristine locales actually exist already. It's quite heartbreaking, but yeah, that's the reality. So, aside from that, plastic debris can also kill 1 million seabirds, 100,000 marine mammals, and turtles each year. It is also said that some seagulls, the North Sea seagulls, had an average of 30 pieces of plastics in their stomachs. Imagine. And what happens if they have plastics in their stomachs? They experience fall satiation. When you say false satiation, parang nafe-feel nila nga, ay, busog ako kasi may laman ang tiyan ko. But actually, those are plastics. So when that happens, they become malnourished. Then, yes, kung ma-malnourished sila, magiging ano na po ang ilang health. Yeah. If you have some time, you can watch this. Palau Plastic. Watch on Netflix. It's like a plastic island. Like, literally. Kabundok na mga plastics sa beach ang tua dito. Okay, so we have already seen, the effect of different pollutants in the water body. How do we reduce it? So, for point water pollution, you can pinpoint where the source of this pollution is. You can do wastewater treatment. So, pangalan yan. What is the difference between wastewater and runoff? When you say wastewater, it is a form of water that has been used already by people. Okay, so like for example, the water that you use in your laundry, dishes, and all, and you discharge it, that's the wastewater. So there are different processes of the wastewater treatment, and I have an exciting video to demonstrate this. Okay, I hope you will hear the sound. Okay. Ayan.
Where does it all go? You just push the lever and it's gone.
Oops, sorry.
Where does it all go? You just push the lever and it's gone. It's not magic, but it is pretty weird that everything disappears. How does it all work? Can anything go down there? Are there even any rules? And is the sink any different? The bathroom sink, the kitchen sink? Actually, there is no difference. Sink, toilet, same thing. Behind these walls and under these floors, all the drains meet up in a single pipe and head toward the sewers. Take a look at this. No, not that. This. What happens down here is pretty cool. Everything that leaves the house through the main drain pipe meets up with the sewer, right down here. In some places, it's a combined sewer, both wastewater and stormwater. In other words, everything from inside your house and everything from outside your house, rain, whatever, goes into a single combined sewer. All of it heads towards the wastewater treatment plant. In some places, the sewers are separated, one for wastewater and the other for stormwater. In that case, only the wastewater heads towards the wastewater treatment plant. The storm sewer goes straight to the Detroit River, untreated, because it's only water, right? Actually, no, it isn't. All the chemicals that you put on your lawn or the soap with all the phosphates that you wash your car with all head out in the storm sewer if you've got a separated system. Straight into the Detroit River. Some people hook up their downspouts to their main drain so that they can keep water away from their home. The problem is, when you add all that rainwater to the dedicated wastewater sewer line, it can overload the system, and during a heavy rainfall, homes can be flooded. And a portion of the wastewater will have to bypass the wastewater treatment plant because it's overloaded and head straight into the Detroit River. Instead, you can just disconnect your downspout and add a rain barrel. Simple as that. But simply adding a rain barrel isn't enough to protect the system. Let's hear from the experts about some of the other things we should think about.
People put things down the sewer that aren't supposed to be there, for example, oil and grease. You pour it down your sink and it's liquid. With hot water, you think, it's fine. It's got to go somewhere and it solidifies. Sewers can get plugged up, which could lead to basement flooding of your own residence or a neighbor's residence. Your toilet or your sink is not a garbage can. Municipal wastewater treatment plants were never designed to treat chemicals that could be in your pharmaceuticals or your personal care products.
Paints, oils, solvents should be in containers and disposed of separately, not down the sink or the toilet.
Pharmaceuticals can go back to the pharmacy.
Flushable wipes for children, for example, physically they are flushable, but they're not in the water long enough to actually degrade, and they do clog the pipes. Sanitary napkins and tampons, women flush down the toilet thinking, That's fine. That's what they've always done. But those do clog the sewer systems and cause issues elsewhere.
Products like that should be in the garbage. Food waste, composting, or the garbage is the better way of dealing with items like that.
So, to sum it up, a storm sewer is not a garbage can. Only rain goes into the storm sewer, nothing else. If you pour your bacon grease or cooking oil or anything like that down the sink, it'll most likely end up clogging the sewers on your street because oil and grease become solid quickly. You should let grease cool down, put it in an empty container, and throw it in the trash. Or even better, take it to the Essex-Windsor Solid Waste Authority's public drop-off depot at Central Avenue and EC Row. And speaking of which, that's the same place you should bring motor oil, unused paints, and things like that. Don't dump them in the sewers. The toilet and sink are no place for unused pharmaceuticals. And look for the ECO logo on cleaning and personal care products. If you flush things that shouldn't be flushed, wipes, feminine products, those kind of things, they'll clog sewers. Even if they say flushable, they're not. And when the sewer is blocked, people's homes flood because wastewater has nowhere to go but back up to the house. So, let's heed the experts' advice. We need to think before we clog the sewers, misuse the wastewater treatment plant, or harm the Detroit River. Oh, and speaking of the wastewater treatment plant, I think it's time we take a look and see what goes on down there. All the wastewater from the city of Windsor ends up at one of two wastewater treatment plants. The Little River plant, or in this case, the Lou Romano plant. The purpose of each of these plants is to remove all solids and pathogens, microorganisms like bacteria and stuff, from the wastewater, so when it gets reintroduced to the Detroit River, it's cleaner than when it arrived at the wastewater treatment plant. When it arrives, coarse screens remove large solids, rags, and debris from wastewater and are immediately disposed of. It's here that you see some of the most ridiculous things people have put down their toilets, drains, and sewers. At least this stuff made it this far. Some things that the water can't dissolve end up stuck in the sewers, leading to sewers being clogged and homes being flooded. After this, fine screens are used to remove the smaller material in the same way. Next up is grit removal. Grit includes sand, gravel, and other heavy solid materials that are heavier than the organic solids in the wastewater. Removal of grit happens by getting the wastewater to flow in a spiral pattern. Heavier particles settle at the bottom of the tank, while lighter organic particles are suspended and eventually carried out of the tank. From there, that water is sent into a settling basin. This is where suspended solids settle out and floating scum is removed by skimmers. Scrapers in the tank move continuously along the bottom to deposit the raw sludge into hoppers, which is sent to a nearby plant where it's made into pellets for fertilizer. After the settling basins, the wastewater is sent to the next step by an Archimedes screw pump, which forces the liquid upwards. The revolutions raise the water thread by thread until it comes out at the top of the cylinder. There, it is met by the fine curve screen, where small items that have made it through the initial screening process are removed. Things like fruit and vegetable stickers. They don't dissolve and they clog up the system, so when you're peeling them off, throw them in the garbage, not down the sink. Now it's time to get the stuff you can't see. Some of this work is done by biological aerated filters. Essentially, what happens here is that good microorganisms attached to porous rock eat up the bad microorganisms. The wastewater is pumped up through the rocks and the bacteria in the water sticks to the rocks. Bubbles are pumped in to keep the good bacteria alive and working. The clean water goes up and the rocks with the bad bacteria attached to them go back down. This cleansed water then flows into a channel on its way to be treated by ultraviolet light. The water passes high-output UV lamps, where light disrupts the molecular structure of DNA molecules in the microorganisms. This renders the cells unable to replicate before they die. The disinfection stage takes seconds, eliminates the need for chlorine, and makes the final process much safer. At the wastewater treatment plants, more than 90% of the pollutants are removed from the City of Windsor's wastewater before the water is returned to the Detroit River. And that's important because the Detroit River and the surrounding lakes are our primary source of drinking water and so much more.
People cannot live without water. We need water for agriculture, we need water for hygiene, we need water for recreational aspects, we need water for drinking, and we have no substitute for water. It's too easy just to try to pass the blame to somebody else. We're all sharing the same resource and we all have the same responsibility.
Right now, the Detroit River is still considered an area of concern under the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement.
We have to care and protect for the resource that we're using and that we're leaving behind for our generations as well.
So let's recap. Wastewater leaves your house, gets treated at the wastewater treatment plant, and returns here, the Detroit River, the same place your drinking water comes from. And what does this all mean? For the past 8 minutes, we've shown you how our wastewater treatment system works. We've told you why it's important to pay attention to what you put down sinks, toilets, and sewers. But if your mind's been floating elsewhere, here's what you absolutely positively need to know.
Number 1, number 2, and TP. That's it. That's all that goes down there. Oh, and TP? It means toilet paper. Oh yeah, and this? Soap and water. That's it.
That's it. Okay, and then it's just, pangalan yan. Dali-dali on. Because it's already 3 o'clock. Yeah. No, where am I? Asan ako? Where did we left off? Yeah. So for agricultural land runoff, they can also do, I have already discussed some of this. You can also do contour strip cropping. So when you say contour strip cropping, like in one season, there are 2 crops that you have planted. And then, para siyang alternating na mga crops. So like for example, in this picture, this part here is corn, and then the green part is alfalfa. Corn, alfalfa, corn, alfalfa. Yan. Okay, for urban runoff, you can redesign your streets para maging natural drainage system siya. So like for example, here, diba, meron siyang pond or wetland. And then here also, in between the, the road, meron talagang strips of vegetation. And then you also use the permeable pavements. In Chicago, they actually designed their alleys as green alleys, in which different na mga interventions have been done. So like for example, they have green roofing system, pangalan yan, rain garden. So yung pangalan yan, yung tubo nila, yung gutter nila, tapos yung aanuhan ng gutter is yung meron silang garden doon kung saan aanuhin yan ng mga plants, magre-receive. And then permeable pavements, bioswale, parang garden din to siya. And then native plants, they really incorporated native plants. So yeah, that's it. I think that's the end of it. Oh, okay, yun na yun. That's it for water pollution. So I hope you learned something, and please take care of our water. Thank you.